So I want to thank everybody that helped with the master plan. And I'm going to start out with why master plan? Why did we need a master plan? The Elizabethtown Industrial Park was actually probably about 12 years ago one of the first 5 certified sites in the state. What happened probably starting about 15 years ago, site consultants started deciding that when they showed up to see a site, they wanted to already have lot layouts. They wanted to make sure that they already knew that there was not a historic issue they were going to run into during construction, that there wasn't a red-headed woodpecker in the pine trees that was going to hold up construction for 2 years, or potentially even make land that they had bought undevelopable. They wanted to know what it was going to cost exactly to have water and sewer extended to a site, where the roads were going to go on the site. So in other words, pretty much when they came, they wanted to make sure that they could, the piece of land that they bought, about all it needed was to go and set up your plan and get your soil and erosion control plan, but that they could start to work on it very quickly, that the zoning was in place, that it had a phase 1 done. So this was a certified site about 12 years ago. Now, certified sites have become very expensive to keep up to date. So it's no longer a certified site now because a lot of our stuff was dated. But the thing that we've learned over the past 12 years is that it's really not necessary to have a certified site if you have most of that work done. So we worked with W.K. Dixon to get all the work done we needed to make it where our land could go to market as fast as it could. Also, we've been working with the town of Elizabethtown, or they've been doing most of the work, in streamlining the permitting process so that when a company comes in, most of the time when a company comes in, unless they do something extraordinary that they know is going to take some special permits, they really want to be able to be developing the site within 60 days. And I think if we're not there, we're very close to there again now. So again, we're not a certified site, but we're about as close to it as you can be that we can keep updated and that we can afford to do here. The other thing about this park is most of the development in this park has been done by Bladen's Blooming Agro-Industrial anyway. We buy a lot, we build the building, because 90+% of the clients that come to Bladen County are looking for an existing building. So, why everybody here, you've probably heard it say a lot. We get eliminated by 80 to 90% of clients because we're not within 5 miles of an interstate. Bladenboro and Clarkton get eliminated by most projects because they don't have sewer capacity. Elizabethtown gets eliminated from a lot of projects now, maybe 60–70%, because we don't have natural gas here. I get calls all the time. Can my family, I have 120 acres I inherited over here, I want to make it an industrial park. You can't make it an industrial site. You have to have water and sewer there. These companies are not coming to lay down a big septic tank farm to run their industrial stuff through. So the way the market demands right now, the speed to market, the infrastructure they want to have in place, the best industrial site we have going right now is this Elizabethtown Airport Industrial Park. Now, it's still very limited in things we can do. If it takes natural gas, it's not going to work here. But there are a lot of things that have worked here, and there's a lot more that can work here as well. So what we've done is where your money went, 4 County, Star, the town. This is the phase 1. So there were no red-headed woodpeckers or gray-masked squirrels or whatever else is protected. So we're good to go there. They didn't find any more of the archaeological things that could hold up development. There is an area back here in this ravine that they'll find some pottery and arrowheads and stuff, so it's been cut out of the park. So we won't be developing down in that ravine because there's probably some stuff there. But we shouldn't run into what a lot of you all that have been with the airport for a long time, I think when the airport was developed, development had to stop for how long? A year or more maybe, while they came in and did a archaeological dig. Anybody know?
More than a year.
More than a year? Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that this helps you avoid. So we've got that done. And the thing we want to look at today here is the lot layout, because I think W.K. Dixon and the town and Bladen's blooming. By the time we got finished, I think we have it a very efficient layout and something that's going to be attractive to clients. We've actually already used this last Friday. A company came in Friday. They're a South American company, but they have 6 sites in the world. They don't have a plant in the United States yet. They're hoping to end up with maybe 3 or 4 plants, but they're looking to locate the first one. They came here to see the 30,000-foot Bladen's Bloomin' Agri-Industrial Heavy building. But there would be other buildings that would have to be built around it, so they really needed a building with extra land around it. So we showed them that, and of course, you know, we walked in the building, there was a table there. We could show them how the lots are laid out right around the building. And y'all, we have a lot more people than we thought we were going to have when we started this, so it's a little bit hard to see. But this is the airport runway. This is Bladen's Bloomin' Agri-Industrial. So we were able to show them that there are 6.5 acres here, 2.8, 2.3. Fits right in with what they need for 15 or 20 acres. This project is 100 jobs, and a lot of them are engineers and truck drivers and really high-end jobs. They do something that is in the, I'll say the fertilizer sector, although it's not directly fertilizer, they're in that sector. So it's a really good project, and it was great to be able to hand them to email them a phase 1, to hand them a map that shows a brand new master plan of the industrial park, that the data we're giving them for the phase 1 is not 15 years old, because lots of times if they look at that, you know, they're not going to say that that's valid for what they're looking at today. So we've already used this one time. We have 2 plans here. The A is our big lot plan. So if you're looking at the one in front of you, the one that has A on the bottom is the one with more big lots. When I talk about really big sites in this park, this 68-acre site right here is one that we're targeting for a major industry. We've been in communications with them. This is a company that could create 200 to 400 plus jobs. We already know the company. We have a past relationship with them. They would have to build a plant that would be in the 400,000 to 500,000 square foot range. Now, depending on what they decided to do there, you could be looking at 200 jobs or 400 or 500 jobs. Actually, in our case, we have to really, really, really hope that the next phase project that they want to implement is the 200 job. Because it's the 400 or 500 job, we have trouble showing the population to support that many jobs within a driving distance. So what we're hoping is the next plant that they need to build, which should be sometime in the next 12 to 48 months. But they were probably the biggest impetus to us going ahead and getting this master plan done. But you can see we have a 68-acre site here. Here with this 20-acre site, depending on what you attach to it, you could easily go up to about 40 acres. We really thought that this land right here inside the loop was one of our best large sites. But now we found out it probably isn't. Our last master plan did not pick up a little wetlands issue here. I didn't believe it was there, so one really, really hot day about 3 weeks ago, I went walking through there, and sure enough, when you get in here, you start hitting little ferns on the ground, and you just see a different kind of tree there. So this could be mitigated. You could do some wetlands mitigation and have this as a whole site, but I think what it did was it went ahead and showed us that for the future, we may look at this as something that could be developable in 2, 3, or 4 lots so that we don't have to pay for the wetland mitigation. So this is the value of doing the master plan, because we didn't know that we had that problem from the prior master plan. There's also a 35-acre B, which is a small lot option. So you'll see on this one that these bigger lots, we showed how they might be divided up and have an alternative type of development. So we're excited about having a new master plan. Also, you'll see down here on this grid, Eddie and I were just in the last couple of days talking about some potential development, and we were wondering, okay, how much would it cost to get water or sewer here? How much would it cost to get a road here? Well, now all we have to do, we have 2016 dollars. We have in dollars today down in this chart good estimates for the cost per linear foot for all the different infrastructure. So if I'm calling a granting agency at Commerce or EDA or USDA, and we're talking about a project that will be in a certain lot, all we have to do is take the number of feet it is from one point to another, because also mapped in here, it's going to be hard for you all to see on yours. It's hard for me to see on these big ones. We have every bit of the existing water and sewer, all of the existing roads, and then we have the hypotheticals for where the new water and sewer lines would go, what areas of the park would require a lift station versus which ones can be gravity. So with all that information now, instead of starting from scratch and trying to get an engineer here to tell us the cost of developing a certain site, all we have to do is measure and find out what the cost of a certain size lift station would be, and you've got a good number a lot quicker. And clients can see how close their the infrastructure is to each site. So we got a large lot version and a small lot version. Now, we didn't go in and go ahead and survey all of these lots. These are hypothetical lots. So if we come in and a lot says 6.5 acres, and instead the industry needs 8, it's not a problem to just sell 8 acres and then have W.K. Dixon go back in and adjust the plan. So, hopefully several of these lots will go down over the next few years and we'll be doing some adjusting, but we finally have a base plate to start from. And in today's digital age, with everything not being hand drawn, it'll be easy for the engineers to go in and just adjust lines and have the plan ready to go for the next client. You can see in here the aviation sector of the park. Eddie's going to talk about this a little bit later. Also, we have in here where all the surface water retention would go. Does anybody have questions about the master plan as it sits here? Because I am trying to get you out quick. I wanted everybody to have a copy, but I could talk about it for a long time, but I'd be talking about stuff that you really don't need to hear. Does anybody have any specific questions about either of these two master plans? Yes, sir.
This may not deal with the master plan exactly, but if you sell one of these lots to a potential industry, is there a maximum time they're allowed to own the lot before they start construction?
There is not an official time, but we learned along with Mr. Ben a long time ago that we will not be selling a lot without that requirement. It's just we implement the requirement according to the project, because we have had an issue in the past with people buying land with the intention to develop it and then not developing it. This was done successfully with Pioneer. Pioneer, when they bought land from Mr. Ben, had every intention of developing that land, but the way things work, they didn't end up developing it. And Mr. Ben just bought it back from them. And now that land would be what would be coupled with our Bladen's Blooming building in order to attract this new company here. So yes, Hayes, we don't have a policy for that, but we definitely do it. And I don't know that we would, I can't imagine that we would sell a lot in this park without that requirement. Yes, sir.
One time you were talking about this being the industrial park and that being the business park. And at one time you were talking about business park would automatically be in town. The industrial park would not necessarily be in town unless they have to be in town. Is it still that way, or is the thinking changed?
No, well, the thinking has to be thinking among all these partners. As of right now, everything is not in town. As of right now, all this is industrial. Now, it's the town would take the lead role in determining how the zoning out here would go and determine what you could do where. We just need to make sure that we do it in a way. I've been to a lot of industrial parks that are industrial on one side, and because the industrial hasn't gone as fast as maybe the overall economy, the other side will have stuff like healthcare, training, even in some cases retail. So that's the kind of thing that now that we have the master plan, I know that y'all have already done some streamlining of some of your regulatory stuff. That's the next thing that needs to be done because we all need to be on the same page about what's going to be allowed where. But we do want to keep from a standpoint of being competitive for industrial investment, we do want to make sure that we determine that very quickly and keep the industrial as far away as it can be from the more business and institutional. And then over time, they would grow and they would make their own dividing line between the two. So no, that's not been determined yet, but it is something that we all need to work with very quickly to decide. Other questions? Okay. We'll move on right quick to the economic impact analysis. And again, on this, I want to thank North Carolina Southeast because Bladen County pays $20,000 a year to be a member of North Carolina Southeast, but y'all, we get a lot of value out of them. The client that came Friday was brought by North Carolina Southeast. The master plan, they helped put money into funding that, and they helped us determine what kind of lot sizes companies looking at us have tended to be looking for. And they also have a contract with a company, Creative EDC, that does economic impact analysis. So we were able to get this free through them, and we can do 1 or 2 of these a year. So, for example, if the company coming in, if we're trying to decide how cheap we're going to sell the building, we're trying to determine, hey, are we willing to sell this building for $600,000 to get these jobs here? Well, you can do an economic impact analysis, and it can tell you what the impact of that project is going to be in your community. So we want to thank North Carolina Southeast for helping us with that. But it was done, and Implan is one of the most respected modeling softwares for economic development in the country. So this is not a fly-by-night, pull it out of a bag blind type thing. There's a lot of science behind this, and these are generally fairly accurate numbers. Okay, go ahead, Lynn. Okay, the Elizabethtown Airport Industrial Park at this point is just over 300 acres, and it's approximately 20% developed. So the numbers that we're going to talk about today are only a fraction of the potential that we have here in this park. Also, this economic impact study does not include the one-time economic impact of the original construction of the facility. So everything that you hear today is the ongoing impact, and that's the last line there, that as long as these businesses here are operating at the level that they are at the point of the impact, these are recurring numbers. It's not a number for 2016. It's a number for ongoing. Now, we all know these businesses change, and I can tell you currently, already these numbers are under where the park is, because we had this analysis done 4 months ago when it started. In April. It started in April. So some of the companies have already grown past the numbers that were used in this, but it's impossible to get real-time numbers. But the great news is we're already growing past what you're going to see today. Now, one question, the study, are we going to hand out copies of it? No, we're not going to hand out copies of it. If anybody's interested in the science behind it and the numbers behind it, we can show you how it was done. But we did promise the industries, some of the industries didn't want to give a lot of their information if it was going to be shared in the public, because this is, who makes what money, what their wages are, what their investment here is. And there were some of them that did not want to share that information if it was going to be public. So what we have is a consolidated number. It's not industry by industry. Go ahead. The employers in the county, Bladen County EMS is here. But we pulled the EMS numbers out of this study since they were already public jobs that were in place. And we have the impact with those as well, but the numbers you see today will not have that, because what we wanted to focus on were the investment that happened due to what the county and the town and all the partners have done in this park from the private standpoint. So the EMS has been pulled out of this, but we also have Aramark, Westwood, their robotics now, I think, Courier Logistics, Subi Honey, Delton Machining, Delton Assembly, DMV, Cape Fear Vineyard Winery, Cape Fear Systems, and of course, we're over there in that office. Yeah. Okay, jobs. The employers in this park, as of the time the analysis was done, there were 245 jobs. Again, this does not include EMS. You include EMS, and that's probably more around, what, Greg, maybe about 290 if you take out EMS. Additionally, and this is how these models work, direct jobs that are created as a result of these 245 and what the businesses do in Bladen County are another 47 jobs. Now, that may be heating and air service people. They don't have one full-time job because this park's here. But what the science does is it calculates the impact that these businesses create in other positions in other businesses that serve the park. So, DMV, it feels like as much as we have to send heat and air people there that we create at least half a job at BS Carroll. But, that's the science behind this. Also, because North Carolina Southeast did the M-Plan study, they're interested in how these investments they make impact the North Carolina Southeast region. So the 245 jobs here create an additional 97 jobs in the North Carolina Southeast region. So this is, suppliers, customers, but it's the impact throughout the southeastern North Carolina region is another 97 jobs. Go ahead. Okay, the average wage of the employers in the park range from $31,200 to $45,000 for full-time employees. So the industries that employ people out here, their average wage, the lowest is $31,200, and the highest average wage is actually $45,000. The annual payroll of employers in this park is over $8 million. So this is what it was back when we compiled all the information in April. I can tell you that's already growing. The average annual wage of a full-time employee in the park is $34,230, which is 5.5% higher than the county average wage. And the county average wage is heavily influenced by Smithfield Foods that employs 5,000 people and are starting production line labor at over $14 an hour with great benefits. So we've got some pretty darn good paying jobs here in this industrial park. Okay, economic impact. The operations of the facilities in this park create an economic impact in Bladen County of $11.9 million annually. They increase the total output of the county by $31.7 million. In the southeast region, the impacts are $20 million and $41 million. So when you hear the economic impact of the business in the park, typically that's reported with multipliers. It's how much business not only do the industries do, but what's the demand they create for fuel? What's the demand they create for attorneys? What's the demand they create for power? So the traditional number that you would hear for economic impact analysis is the $31.7 million number. Now, if you're interested in getting into the details of exactly what that means, I've got the footnotes of the plan that you can read, but it will put you to sleep very quickly. The big thing is it's a much bigger economic impact, I think, than I realized that it was when we started this. And I think we have the potential to grow it by a lot, because a couple of the projects that we're looking at would have a far bigger impact than anything that we have in the park right now. The wages paid in the park are likely to contribute to the local service and retail sales more than $4.17 million each year. And I can already hear Ricky saying he doesn't get enough of that $4 million. But $4.17 million is the amount of projected retail and service sales that come out of the wages paid in the park. Tax base, the value of the real estate in the park is currently about $9.5 million. From the value of real estate, I know my agro-industrial folks understand it's really kind of frustrating, because we can go out and we can spend $1.5 million building a building, and when it's finished, it's only worth $800 or $850. So I wouldn't even say we're in a risky situation. Risky is there's a chance that it's going to go bad. We know every time we build a building that it's going to have a low value. So this, the $9.5 million is not the amount of money that's been invested in real estate out here. We've probably invested well more in the range of 15, 16, Lord knows. Alex, I'd be scared to know what he's invested in this place, but the tax value is not going to come close to matching up to that here in Bladen County. So one challenge for us is the tax base is going to grow slower, much slower than the investment we make in facilities, because investments don't match up to value in our rural economically distressed county. The other thing, and the new projects we're looking at could change this trend, but a lot of the businesses we have out here do not tend to have a heavy investment in business personal property. Now, I can tell you this $5 million number it's way past that already, because Tony at Delton had equipment come in after this April number, and with the expansion that we're finishing over there right now, we're adding 6,900 more feet to his machining facility. He's got about another $1.5 million worth of equipment coming in after that. So we need to keep these buildings up in the park, because the more buildings we have, the more jobs we have, the more real estate value we have, and the more space we have to put down business personal. Okay, that's the quick and dirty of it. I have this whole thing together is about 8 pages. Well, what I did was pull out the highlights and try to make this quick. Does anybody have questions about the economic impact analysis that was done? Thank goodness, because it's really hard to understand if you get into the details of it. Okay, at this time we wanted to keep it quick, but also Eddie's here, and Eddie's going to update you a little bit about what's going on over here in the aviation sector of the park and with the taxiway, and I think also with the terminal building. When you get finished, when he gets finished, feel free to come up and take a look at any of this. If you think of a question between now and then for me, please feel free to come up and ask me. But, well, I'll let Eddie go, then I'll tap it out.
It may be time to go because the peacocks are here in the car. Thank you, Chuck. My presentation is going to be short. There are members of our airport commission here today, Mr. Fred Tate and Lee Green and some others that are here. We've been working, and Mr. Campbell, we've been working for some time, the last 4 or 5 years, in trying to expand upon the mission of the airport. The airport, I think, has like all airports, has some degree of reputation of being a facility that's for a select group to house their aircraft and to be able to go out on Sunday afternoons and enjoy a couple hours of flight time and so forth. But truthfully, our airport is not unlike a lot of airports in North Carolina. We have a tremendous impact on, and here's Reynold Hester and Mr. David Clark, on the local economy. In fact, just in tax revenue alone, according to the state's economic impact study that they did for us, the state and local tax revenue is $268,000. And then, of course, there's a derivative of that from job creation, both directly and indirectly, that has a positive impact on our local economy. One of the fastest growing industries in the state is in aviation. And that can take on the form of anything from drone technology to fabrication, avionics, and so forth. It's made a tremendous impact on the areas of Greensboro and places like that where the new Honda Jet's being assembled. Boeing in Charleston, South Carolina, just a few hours south of here, is seeing a tremendous economic impact from the manufacturing and assembly of the Boeing aircraft. And they are siting locations all along the southeast to contribute and support these large manufacturing facilities in communities just like ours. And so our airport commission and the town council underwent a study with the assistance of the Division of Aviation to figure out how we can get plugged in and hopefully see some growth in the aviation sector as a result of it. We are one of the few airport facilities in North Carolina where our airport and our industrial park actually join, where we are contiguous to one another physically, politically, and otherwise. And so we made the pitch to the Division of Aviation that they should invest in our airport and help us to try to grow our economy and attract jobs that are aviation related. They saw the merit of that, and about a year ago they appropriated $1.2 million to us to build a taxiway from the airport facility across over to the industrial park side. We acquired the Rudy Potter property, and we have now cleared that site, and we're in the design and engineering phase of constructing a taxiway. It's shown on your plan. If you look on the plan, you'll see in pink the area that has been acquired and what we hope to acquire in the coming months. It will involve a roadway, some roadway construction, the taxiway itself, and the development of some potential sites. So from that, we could see hopefully a partnership with Bladen's Blooming on an incubator at some point down the road where we can attract an industry to our community. It could involve additional aircraft corporate hangar construction. that brings tax base into our community. Really, the sky's the limit with what could occur there. This capability obviously can be extended to anyone that's currently based or has facilities here in the industrial park. So any customer that Chuck or his board is working with, we can have a direct conversation with them about airport connectivity to where they can fly in and out of our airport rather than driving some distance to do that. So we're very excited about it. And then we went to the Division of Aviation and said, if we're making this big step forward, we need to do something with our terminal building. The building itself is 25 years old. The design of that building is not the best in the world. It served its purpose when it was initially built, but when we're stepping forward, like the industrial park has done and what Alex has done here, we wanted to participate and bring the same level of capability and presence as being done here. So behind me, and before you leave today, we hope you'll take a look at the preliminary design that Mr. Chris Adams has done for us. The actual construction drawings are to be completed by tomorrow, and we hope to go out for bid in October to the 1st of November. This is a $1.1 million project that's being funded 100% with grants. So between the airport taxiway and this, we've accumulated $2.3 million in grants with no local match whatsoever. So we're very proud of it. And we hope this will complement everything that's going on here in the industrial park and continue to bring jobs to our community. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, y'all. I think we kind of, me and Linda and the Bladen's Blooming Board and maybe even the town, I know that I have kind of been taken for granted what's here because it's happened so slowly, or it seems like to me it's so slowly, but it's because you're here every day. But Bladen's Blooming has been in existence for 15 years, and we've built 15 buildings. And I guess for some reason recently we have had a surge of people that have been referred to us by Golden Leaf or by Electricities. Has a whole big group coming in here on September the 15th. Beaufort County is coming in here later this month. August 25th. We have a lot of people starting to come into this park because they've heard about it through word of mouth. And all the commerce developers in the state had their regional meeting here at this facility. And what we keep hearing, and I guess I just didn't realize it, is we have one of, if not the nicest little industrial parks in the state right now. So I'm starting to appreciate that more. I'm starting to appreciate more of the work that we've done all together. But I'm really definitely starting to see a bigger vision of where we can go to over the next few years. And I really hope that, that 7-10 years from now, we'll be talking about, 600 or so jobs in this industrial park. We'd be talking about a tax base value of maybe 30 to 60 million here in this park. And economic impact numbers that could run, north of 60, 80, or maybe even $100 million. So we appreciate the role everybody has played in getting to this point, and we appreciate even more ahead of time the work that we're going to all do to push it toward those next targets. So with that, we're finished. I would ask, if you will, the Bladen's Blooming Agro-Industrial Board to stay over. If we could end up meeting in this area over here, we got a few things that we need to handle right quickly if we can, and maybe some direction that we need to give our executive committee. But I really appreciate everybody being here today. We were staggered by the amount of positive responses we had to people coming, and we're glad you are so interested in what we're doing, and look forward to working with you in the future.